God'll get you for that one.
Maude is owned by Shout Factory.
God'll Get You for That, Walter is produced for entertainment purposes only.
Sponsored in part by Findley's Friendly Appliances. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of God'll Get You for That, Walter.
Are we quite sure?
No!
I guess not.
My name is Tom Catt, and I am joined, as always, by my fabulous co-star, co-business partner, co-mother. Who are you?
Toni Homeperm.
That sounds serviceable at this hour. And welcome to God Will Get You for That, Walter, a podcast where we discuss the 1970s hit sitcom, Maude. And as always, we are watching Season 3, Episode 15. This is on Tubi.
Yes.
We watched this on Tubi.
For free?
For free, yes. Because you can watch, as we've always said, Seasons 3 and 4 on Tubi. Mm-hmm. And Seasons 1 and 2 on Freevee, provided by
Amazon Prime.
This is our episode 63. And as mentioned, this is Season 3, Episode 15, All Psyched Out.
Yes.
Directed by Hal Cooper, written by, of course, Norman Lear, Barbara Gallagher, and Sybil Edelman. Mm-hmm. With one guest star.
Yes.
Paul Benedict as the minister. And Paul Benedict, to those who don't know, is very famous for his portrayal of Mr. Bentley on The Jeffersons.
The Jeffersons, yes.
On The Jeffersons.
Yes.
A very, very, very fabulous character actor. He was also the judge in The Addams Family.
Yes. Yes.
So, yes, it was...
Now, before we start the episode,
go ahead.
I wanted to discuss something.
Okay.
So,
what did you want to discuss?
Did you see the movie Get Out?
Yes. That was directed by Keegan Peele.
Yes.
I believe his name is Keegan Peele.
Jordan Peele.
Jordan Peele.
Jordan Peele.
I'm thinking of his co-star.
Okay. And I just watched it.
Yes.
Last night, actually.
Yes.
And, well, I guess it's been out for quite a while now.
It's a dark comedy.
Dark comedy. And here, spoiler alert, it's about this young black man who's dating this white girl, and she brings him to meet the family, and it turns out that the family and all these people living in this sort of hidden away community, they're like kidnapping young black men and women, and these old white people are sort of transplanting their brains into their bodies.
Yes.
The thing about it, though, in some
very
parts,
very Stepford Wives.
Yes. But the thing that was most interesting to me was like at the party, like all the white people there, they're talking to the main character, and they're like saying, or like the father like saying to the main protagonist, the young African American man, like, I would have voted for Obama a third time if I could have. And I was like, and like people like then later at the party, they're like saying to him like, oh, what is the African American experience like? I was like, that was like so out of Maude. As I'm watching it, I'm like, oh my God, if the guy had gone to like a party at Maude's house,
yep,
this probably would have been the same exact thing he would have encountered. And I just couldn't help but think about that.
It's all about being a white savior.
Yes.
It's all about white guilt.
Yes.
And
although they weren't saving these,
they were not saving these people.
It was
a
young
farce.
Man.
It was all part of the farce. It was all part of the act.
Yes.
Whereas with a character like Maude, it's definitely based in white guilt and being a white savior.
Right.
And it's interesting that we're seeing movies like that develop. I'm very excited to see Nope.
I don't know
another movie that was produced by Jordan Peele. Anecdotal, and I actually just recently saw this or read this in an article, that they wanted Jordan Peele to play the brown Eminem in, I think, in an Eminem movie, in an animated Eminem movie.
Okay.
And Eminem's, of course, being the candy, not
right,
the rapper.
Right.
And I believe he turned down the role because he felt it was just... I think he was offered the part, and then he turned it down because he felt it was a diversity hire. So what the directors ended up doing was they cast Patrick Stewart as the brown M&M.
Captain Picard?
Captain Picard.
As the brown M&M?
As the brown M&M.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. It was something far worse. It was not the
not Captain Picard.
It was not M&Ms. It was the Emoji Movie.
Oh, the Emoji Movie.
And it was the poop emoji. They wanted Jordan Peele to initially play the poop emoji. Oh. And when he turned the role down, as well he did.
Well, he should.
They cast Patrick Stewart as
the poop
emoji.
Okay. Yeah. I
try digesting and processing that one.
Yes. I think, casting Patrick Stewart as the poop emoji, that's a great idea.
That's inspired.
Yes. Asking Jordan Peele to do it.
Yeah.
It's kind of
just wrap your mind around it for a little bit. It'll really hurt your feelings.
That's troublesome. It's funny though how with voice casting now, and you being a voice-over actor.
Yep.
I think about like with The Simpsons, how they had all the characters, ethnic characters. Pretty much all played by one white guy.
It's becoming such a big deal that voice actors are being cast according to
their ethnicity.
Yeah. I was given an opportunity within the last couple of months to audition for a video game. And the video game's cast list consisted of characters that are predominantly Southeast Asian.
Oh.
And when I was given the opportunity to audition, and I lovingly said, "Thank you for this opportunity. There is nobody within this cast list that I can audition for."
Oh, right.
So I said, "Thank you, but no thank you.
No, thank you.
Please try and cast this as authentically as possible."
Yeah.
It is becoming such an argument.
Yeah.
Because there are so many voice actors out there who are like, "Well, you can voice whomever you want to voice, and you can..." Here's my thing. And this is something that I've actually had conversations with a number of my voice actor colleagues. If a piece of art is going to try and cast something authentically, it doesn't matter how good an actor you are. It does not matter if you are the Meryl Streep of voiceover. If a part is being asked that is specific to a specific region, you would want the voice actor to be from that specific region. Right. And there are some people out there, especially because I had a conversation with Charlie Adler about this, where we were talking about gender, and there were times when he was cast as a female character, where some actresses would be like, "Well, you're taking roles away from female characters," and it's becoming really, really. I don't want to use... It's becoming interesting to see the dynamic and the shift in terms of voice acting and voiceover as things continue to develop and progress in a very specific direction. Now, granted, you are still going to have cartoons that will have very nondescript characters, but you're also going to have cartoons and video games that are descript.
Right.
And that are supposed to be a specific culture, a specific race, a specific gender, and as such, they should be cast accordingly.
Right.
Because there was one. I had recently gone to a showcase, and when I was there was a young actress, and her and I had gotten to talk with each other. I'm not going to at her because I don't know if she would want me to tell this story anyway, but one of the reasons why she is trying to get into voiceover and break into the entertainment industry is because she wants to see more Jewish people cast authentically. She wants to see more Jewish people cast in Jewish roles. And it's interesting because when I heard that, I think to the Golden Girls and the Nanny. Because you have the Golden Girls, which cast Estelle Getty and B. Arthur as two Italians when they are very much not Jewish, Italian. Yes. They are Jewish.
Yes.
And you look at the Nanny, the producers of The Nanny initially wanted Fran Drescher to be Italian. And Fran was just like, absolutely not.
No, right.
I want her to be a Jewish character.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just interesting to sort of see. I don't want to call this wokeness. I don't want to call this progressivism. I want to call it casting authentically.
Right.
And if you want to do that, you should do as such. We don't want James Corden to play gay anymore.
No, please.
We don't.
Please. You know, it's funny, and I realize we haven't even gotten to the episode yet.
We haven't even gotten to the episode yet, but it's fine. This is
interesting. I recently read an article about they were calling out the old Short Circuit movies because white actor Fisher Stevens, he played the Indian scientist.
Yep.
You know, and they put him in basically brownface to play the role and all that. And he says now he looks back at it now and he's very, it's very cringy to him.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, look at Mickey Rooney in Breakfast at Tiffany's.
I never saw the movie. What did he do?
Really?
What did he do?
He was in Yellowface.
Oh, he was?
He had the makeup artist pulled the skin back, gave him false teeth and glasses, and it was just a really nasty portrayal.
They did that a lot in Hollywood.
Yes, they did.
Yeah,
they did.
With Asian characters.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, sometimes, you might see, like, an actual Asian person playing, like, a bit part, but generally, if it was, like, a major part, they put a white actor in that role and did the things with, like, taping the eyes and big glasses and, like, buck teeth or all that kind of stuff.
A really nasty caricature of
Asians.
Of Asians.
So.
And it's just, it's wonderful because, again, I actually had this conversation with a group of friends and I was like, it's only been within the last 5 to 8 years that there's sort of been this progression towards authenticity.
Right.
And, it's only getting more and more not divisive, but it's getting more and more argumentative. There are a lot more arguments from, white voice actors that I am familiar with who are like, well, I should be able to play whatever part I want. Not particularly.
No.
Not that is not the
way. If it was live action, you certainly couldn't do it.
Not at all. Not at all.
Why does it make it okay if it's just audio?
And therein lies the argument.
Right.
Therein lies the argument.
Right.
Because there was a girl that I'm familiar with. She was like, "Well, I'm never going to be able to voice an anime character because all anime characters are Japanese." And it's just like, you are so off base. You are so off base. Just because a cartoon is Japanese animation does not mean that the characters are all exclusively Japanese.
Asian. Right.
Or all exclusively Asian.
Right.
And, it's an argument. It's a conversation that is always being had. It's a conversation that is happening in Hollywood, in all forms of entertainment. And in my humble opinion, I think that the more we sort of traverse down this flume ride, where you're just watching everything progress and everything happen, the more that takes place, the more you're just going to be open to the idea of more authentic casting.
Yes.
And I feel like, especially when it comes to video games, because video games at one point were very cartoony.
Mm-hmm.
They were very cartoony, and now they're sort of more in the real. They're more realistic.
Mm-hmm.
Like you look at video games like Skyrim, or what's another good example? Any of the Halo series, any of
become very cinematic.
They
right?
become very.
I don't
cinematic.
play them,
but video games more or less have become cinematic. Like, granted, you're still gonna have your like zany cartoon video games, of course. Right. But more often than not, you are seeing a sort of cinematic. You are seeing a feature film in a video game.
Right.
And the more they try to cast more dramatic actors in that, the more you're going to see things being cast more authentically.
True.
Because if a character is written a specific way, it should be cast a specific way.
Right. There you go.
And that's all there is for Tuesday night.
And that was our digression.
And that was our digression. Now,
Meanwhile, back at the Findlay
back
house.
at the Findlay house,
Oh.
we have Mrs. Naugatuck taking out a tray of cookies.
And singing The Man I Love.
The man I love,
Yes.
someday he'll come along.
Mhm.
And as she's singing,
Mhm.
Carol walks in and
Yes.
she wants to know where her mother is.
Where's Maude? And we find out from Mrs. Naugatuck that she was upset
Because she lost the sale
she
on
lost
the
the sale.
Bamberger house.
Right.
Which, of course, to those that know and to those that don't know, Maude is a real estate agent.
Right.
And she has been trying to sell specific houses to
Mhm.
get a specific type of commission.
And she lost the sale, so no commission, so she was upset.
Yes.
So she went out with Vivian.
Yes, she went out with Vivian to get over her troubles.
Yes.
And, you know, I think Mrs. Naugatuck at that point offers
She
Carol
offers
a cookie.
Carol a cookie.
And Carol's like, well, I have to watch my
I
figure.
can't. I have to watch my figure. And Mrs. Naugatuck.
But here's the thing, from a I want to, what the hell's the word I want to use? From a cinematographic?
Cinematic.
Thank you.
Cinematic.
From a cinematic
Perspective.
From a cinematic perspective, Carol turns her body
Yeah.
and saunters
Yeah.
to the fridge.
Yes.
Obviously, the cameraman is like, oh,
Yes.
they were told to obviously do that.
Yes.
Because, of course...
The camera was basically ogling Carol.
Yes, because
Yes.
Adrienne Barbeau had a very attractive figure.
Right.
And Mrs. Naugatuck, shoving a cookie in her
Yeah.
mouth, says, I see what you mean.
yeah.
With me, it's just a waste of time.
Just a waste of time.
Which I also appreciate because that does have two meanings.
What?
A waste of time.
A waste of time. Yes.
And of course,
W-A-I-S-T.
W-A-I-S-T.
Not just W-A-S-T-E.
So I appreciate that.
So Mrs. Naugatuck tells Carol that they went to
A psychic.
Vivian's psychic.
Yes.
Yes, apparently this is a psychic Vivian has been all into.
Yes. We actually find out later on in the series that Vivian's grandmother or mother had ESP abilities.
Oh.
So it's interesting that that's something that gets addressed in the series.
Now, Mrs. Naugatuck, she starts telling Carol about a friend of hers
Yes.
who had gone to a psychic.
Yep. And how the psychic had told her friend.
Predicted she was going to get pregnant.
Yes. And Carol
Yes.
asks, well, what happened? Did she get pregnant? And what did Mrs. Naugatuck say?
She said, oh, he saw to it personally that she got pregnant.
Yep.
So,
That was interesting.
yes.
So at that point,
we hear some
we
sound
hear some
out
sound.
from the living rooms, and Carol's
Yes.
like, oh, I think I hear them.
yes.
So she goes out into the living room.
We see Maude entering, taking her coat off, and slamming the door on a very injured Vivian.
Yeah, she's got her leg.
Her leg was in a cast. Her leg
Yes.
was in a cast.
And I think so. Vivian comes in. I basically is like hobbling to the couch, right?
Yeah, she hobbles to the couch and she says, "Oh, Maude, really?"
Yes, yes.
And Maude turns to her and says, Vivian, with the way that the entire day's gone, I ought to give you a swift kick in the cast."
Yeah. So Maude is mad at Vivian. We can already see that.
Yes, and we find out the
Yes.
psychic's name is Mr. Norcross.
Yes, Mr. Norcross. Yes, and Maude is saying, it's bad enough that she dragged her to this quack.
Yes,
And Vivian is saying, well, Mr. Norcross, he's worked for the federal government. He's been
federal
government. He's been used
by the federal
government.
And Maude retorts,
Haven't we all? We've all been used.
"We've all been used by the federal government."
So Vivian says, well, if he's such a quack, then how do you explain him predicting my accident?
My accident and her hurting herself.
Yes.
So
and now Carol keeps trying to say,
Hello.
Hi, Mother. And,
Hello, Mother. Hello, Vivian.
And nobody's...
Bonjour, Mother. Buenos dias, Vivian.
They're totally oblivious.
Completely
to her.
oblivious. I really felt bad for Carol during this moment because she's trying to say hello to them and they are completely ignoring her.
Completely ignoring. So Maude then she tells the story of what happened with Vivian with her accident.
Yes. 3 times you've tried to help Arthur back into the driveway, and 3 times he's run over your instep.
Right. So finally, I guess the 3rd time, it was enough that he actually broke the foot.
Yes.
It's at that point,
and
Carol
does a cartwheel. And she just says, "Hello, Mother!"
Yes.
And, you know, the audience is erupting with
Yeah.
applause and laughter.
And Maude
Maude
just looks at her and
says,
says,
Carol, you just get in?
actually, I think it was, you're home already?
You're home already, that's
Home
what it was.
already.
Carol, you're home already?
Yes. So now, Vivian, she's upset about the 4 things the psychic told Maude
Yes.
is going to happen.
And what are the 4 things?
Okay, well, I'll take number 1.
Okay.
Number 1 was that she was going to get a call from a mysterious stranger.
The second thing was that a friend close to her someone close to her was going to suffer a severe emotional trauma.
Number 3 was she was going to get good news.
And fourth,
The
Carol,
kicker.
if you could believe this, the psychic said that I was going to get married for a 5th time. I mean, can you believe that?
Yes.
And Maude just giggles and chuckles away.
And so is Carol.
And so is Carol. And
Yes.
Maude asks Carol, I mean, can you really believe me getting married a 5th time?
Carol says yes.
Yes. And to think, I bought you your first training bra, and then you broke training.
She broke training.
And of course, as they're saying that, again, cinematography, the camera, like, Carol is side-facing, in profile.
ogling, you know, Vivian
She is...
Barbeau's.
I mean, Adrienne Barbeau is in
Bust-line.
profile.
Yes.
And, you know, facing her... Just...
Yes.
They really took advantage of that poor girl.
Yes. You know, I was watching, I saw something, and I never remember, I had forgotten this, but Vivian Barbeau, she played Adrienne Barbeau played a Romulan on Star Trek.
Yes, she did. Yes, she did.
And actually, we watch CSI New York. It's something we're binging at the moment. And she was on an episode of that. She played like a real bad person.
Of course.
She was a criminal.
I mean, she's, in my opinion, I think she's a fabulous actress.
Fabulous actress.
She really is a fabulous actress.
And
And easily one of my favorite Catwomen.
yes. All right. So
moving gaily forward.
Yes. And it's the whole thing about the idea of Maude getting married again is just a big joke. And then the phone rings.
The phone rings and Vivian erupts. She erupts with worry.
Yes.
Oh, the phone call from the mysterious
phone call
stranger.
From the mysterious stranger.
So, Maude's like, I'm not going to climb the walls every time the phone rings.
Yes.
So she answers the phone and says, hello there, old friend.
Yes.
You want to know? Yes, this is the woman
the lady of the house. And what do they want her to do?
They want her to sing the Campbell's Soup jingle for a free case of Campbell's Soup.
Yes.
And
do you like Campbell's Soup? That's a no from me, dog.
My mother made soup.
Well, when I was a kid, yeah.
My mother still makes soup today.
Oh, yes.
It wasn't a thing that we did. I mean, if anything, she'll do like a cream of chicken or a cream of mushroom and like a bake. But that's about it.
Yes. I loathe canned soup.
Yeah.
I don't
Progresso I like.
I don't even like Progresso anymore.
Really?
I used to.
And then what you find out? Too much sodium?
No, it's just that, I started making my own soup.
Oh, you made your own.
And it's like, I make my own like minestrone or lentil or chicken noodle, and it's like, it just does not compare to canned soup. Even though, Progresso is a lot better than Campbell's. But
we're not being sponsored by either of these companies.
No, sponsorship is out the window now. But no,
I feel the same way about Campbell's as I do about Chef Boyardee.
Oh, Chef Boyardee. Oh,
it's just not.
Oh, gross.
But again, to use the tomato soup, to use any of the other things in a recipe is one thing.
One thing, yes, absolutely. But to just eat it
plain
out of the can.
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
So Maude is joking with the person.
Yes.
How's the wife? We must have this conversation again soon. And she hangs. Let's get lunch together someday.
So Vivian is like, she's like, it was the mysterious stranger.
I've talked to that man thousands of times.
Maude is telling her to stop. And I think Carol brings up the marriage again, the 5th marriage again.
Yes, and she asks Maude.
I know what it was. It was about, do you think it could be somebody you know?
And Vivian, out of the side of her mouth, says, "How could that be? She's already married everybody she knows."
Married everyone she knows.
Which was a very witty line
Yes.
from Miss Vivian.
Yeah, it's very catty. Now, at that point, Walter comes in.
Actually, Maude then threatens Vivian, saying, your leg is in a cast. Would you like to try for the entire body?
That's right.
And that's when Walter comes in, and he is all a Twitter.
Yes, he has hot gossip.
Hot gossip.
Walter is there to spill the tea.
Walter is going to spill all the tea.
Yes. Guess who's getting a divorce? I think it was like you'll never
guess who's getting a divorce. And Vivian says, "You."
Yeah.
Just. I have to say, I love when Rue McClanahan plays sad, but plays funny sad. Because it doesn't matter what the circumstance, she is just so funny. Mm-hmm. She is an incredibly funny actress when she plays sad. Mm-hmm.
So, I think Maude says Grace and Harry...
Feldspar?
Something
to that effect.
I know it was a Grace and a Harry something or other.
Grace and Harry, they're already divorced. And, Walter then says, Cliff and Joanna Naylor.
Yes.
And, Maude's like, oh, no, they've been married for 16 years.
Yes.
And, as all this is happening, Walter then starts running upstairs and he says, you better be careful, Maude. Right? Cliff has said that you are one of the wildest, funniest, smartest, sexiest women in the neighborhood.
That's right.
And, Maude is initially like, and then her face drops.
Yeah.
And she's like, good Lord, I'm going to be married to Cliff Naylor.
Yes. And so Vivian's saying, that's the trauma. That's the trauma that, these two people, this couple that they know, are getting a divorce.
And Maude's like, oh my God, you're right. Oh, poor Harriet Naylor.
Yes.
And the camera goes to Carol, and Carol says, Mother, her name is Joanna. That's a me thing. That is 100% a me thing.
Yes.
To those that don't know, an anecdotal, I will not remember a person's name. No. I will try. Every time I will try.
I'm bad at remembering names.
I will always try to remember somebody's name, but if I don't, it's just like, oh, darling. You're so sweet, darling. Sweetie, honey, darling, Pookie, Cookie,
love,
Butter.
Girl.
I love calling people Butter.
Yes. Very true.
So...
We meet a lot of people.
We meet a lot of people. We do.
And it's like, I recognize the face, but
the name just the name is just... Right out the brains.
Yes.
So at that point, the phone rings again, and Vivian again is bereft. Oh, the phone call from the mysterious stranger!
And Maude's like, we already had the mysterious stranger.
So she answers the phone, and it's her boss, George, or it's her partner, George.
Somebody from the office.
From the office.
She's the manager, remember?
She is the manager. Yes, she is.
Probably somebody under her.
So,
Hello,
George. We find out that the Bamberger house deal went through. They changed their mind.
Yes.
So I think at that point, she's like, "Oh, this is wonderful. Oh, thank you so much. We'll go over the paperwork tomorrow or whenever." So she hangs up the phone. Walter comes downstairs, and Maude is overjoyed.
She's ecstatic.
More commission.
The deal went through.
$1,200. And Walter turns to her and goes, "Wow, that's good news."
Yes.
And Maude's face obviously falls because that's another thing that the psychic predicted. Have you ever heard the song Griswold Predicts or Griswold Predicts?
No.
It was an old song by Mae West. And the premise basically was that I'm 90% positive it was almost like a Kreskin character. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure it was called Griswold Predicts. Mm-hmm. And again, just anecdotal. Mm-hmm. I would look into it personally.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So Vivian says, "Don't panic."
Yes,
she's saying, "Don't panic." Carol is saying, "Don't worry." But
Carol, before she gets another parting shot at Maude.
Yes, she has one favor to ask.
Just one favor, and she says, "What is it?" And what does Carol say?
She asks her to pin a note to her pillow to let her know who her new stepfather is going to be.
And then she just sweetly skips away.
Yes.
And Maude calls back to her, just for that I'm going to twirl the calendar on your birth control
pills.
Which just... That's such a mean thing to say.
Yes.
That's such a mean thing to do.
So now Vivian, she tells Walter about, the fourth prediction that the psychic said Maude's going to get married again. And Walter, he just starts to laugh.
He loses it.
He's hysterical.
He is hysterical laughing.
And Maude is like, oh, you're laughing on the inside. And
crying on the inside.
Laughing on the outside, crying on
the
inside.
inside.
Yes. Yes. And Walter's, he's saying, you don't believe this phony.
And, Maude's like, well, Walter, he was used by the federal government.
Yes.
And Walter says, oh, aren't we? We've all been used by the federal. But of course, before he finishes the sentence, Maude cuts him off saying, that is not funny, Walter. Because obviously only Maude can be the funny one.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So I think at that point, Mrs. Naugatuck comes in and says, well, why don't you and Walter just get married again?
Right.
And I think she exits back into the kitchen.
No, she doesn't.
She exits. She goes to
Maude
the stairs.
Is at first she's like, Mrs. Naugatuck, that's the most outlandish thing I've ever heard of.
That's the most outlandish, most ridiculous, most marvelous idea I have ever heard. Brilliant idea I have ever heard.
Brilliant idea. And and she grabs Mrs. Naugatuck.
Oh, Walter, we're going to get married.
No, but she tells Mrs. Naugatuck, she says, "I love you.
I love you,
Walter. Walter, we're getting married."
And Mrs. Naugatuck pushes her away, saying,
"Not you and me.
I meant you and him.
You and him. Crazy Americans."
Oh, Hermione badly.
So Maude says, we're going to make the prediction come true.
And we're going to have a second
wedding. Vivian starts to cry because...
I always cry at
She always cries at weddings. And Walter tells her, he says, are you out of your mind? And Maude is like, any man who won't marry...
Any man who refuses to marry his wife is a pretty rotten husband.
Pretty rotten husband.
And I think she exits.
Vivian continues to cry.
And Walter barks at Vivian. Saying, Vivian, I hold you personally responsible for this. Mm-hmm. And Vivian just blubbers.
Yes.
And it still makes me laugh.
Season 3 Vivian, so different from season 1.
So different from
Vivian.
season 1. Vivian.
Completely different character.
But I mean, could you have honestly seen Doris Roberts playing Vivian?
Oh God, no.
Not this version of Vivian.
No, not this version. No.
I could see
not at all.
I could see first season Vivian being played by Doris Roberts.
Sure.
Not season 2 and 3.
Not later.
Or 4 or 5 for that matter.
No. Definitely not. So now Walter goes into the kitchen. Maude is sitting at the table, and she's kind of forlorn, and she's saying, I know I'm being irrational. And she starts remembering about, the day they got married.
And how she didn't want to.
Day. And
she gave, I think, Walter a hard time about wearing the ring.
The wedding ring.
Because it's a sign of male chauvinism. And
symbol of male
dominance. That's
what she said. And she says she knows the idea is old-fashioned. And Walter's, he starts kissing her hand.
Yep.
And he says, okay, let's get married again.
And Maude springs into action. Should we, and 300 people, 400 people.
We'll get a tent in the backyard. We'll do it on Saturday. And we'll say, we can't do it on Saturday. It's the day I'm getting my sinuses drained.
And Maude says, we don't want you dripping on a wedding day.
You need clear sinuses on your wedding day. So she says, we'll do it on Sunday at 11 here.
And, Walter then says, all right, sure, but make sure that it's before 11 because it's a golf day with Arthur at 11 o'clock sharp.
Yes.
Because God forbid Walter and Arthur miss their golf.
Can't miss their golf.
Can't miss the golf.
Yes. And Maude she's like grabbing Walter.
Walter, this is the happiest moment of my life.
And meanwhile, Walter's licking his fingers
because he had like whatever was in the pot.
Whatever that Mrs. Naugatuck was cooking, yes. And he's just licking his fingers.
And then we go to commercial. Come back. And
we're in the living room.
Carol's in a beautiful floor-length, blue body contrast.
Mm-hmm. Carol, Arthur, and Vivian are all in the living room. They're decorating, I think.
And I think Arthur says, "Hold it, Carol," and like snaps a picture.
Yes.
And it's all decorated in like pretty pink things, and there's the wedding cake and all that fun stuff.
Mrs. Naugatuck comes in
holding this very long gold vest jacket situation.
Yes. Obviously, you know, we see and we're like, oh, she's bringing Maude's gown upstairs for her.
And Vivian says, "Oh, what a charming gown."
Yes.
And, you know, Mrs. Naugatuck then lays Maude's dress over the banister, turns around and says, "Oh, it was a peekaboo."
It used to buy a peekaboo. And, you know, she's, then she goes back upstairs and Vivian's like, "I meant Maude's gown."
There was more booing than peeking.
More booing than peeking,
because it was this really attractive, matronly, pink, like, the word that I want to use is honeysuckle, because it looks like just something very sweet and childish and cute, sort of. But there was this big circular opening right between the breasts.
Yeah.
And it was all camisoled with pink lace.
Right.
So, that was a thing.
I think it was in Blossom and Blush.
Interesting color choices.
Yes. It's from Steel Magnolias.
Yes. Drink your juice, Shelby. Barbara, please. Please, Barbara.
So, Arthur, he's trying to take a picture. The flash didn't go off.
He took a picture of Vivian, and
Right.
Vivian is in this blue caftan.
Mm-hmm.
I did not like it on her.
No.
It did not. You know, again, it was one of those things where it's like, long dresses don't look good on a short body.
True.
Like, when, again, the other instance that I think of is when Dorothy and Blanche wore the same outfit.
Yes.
And, like, there was it was that this sort of pinky, fleshy nude color with all the ruching, and it looked so gorgeous on B, but it looked terrible.
Made Blanche's room look dumpy.
It made her look so dumpy.
Yeah.
So nope. Yeah, I'm not crazy about caftans on short bodies. But that's just me being pretentious.
Yeah. So the flash on Arthur's camera doesn't go off.
And he says, Henry Fonda's going to hear about this.
Because Henry Fonda used to do, like, commercials for cameras. Yes.
And at that point, Maude comes downstairs and she's singing, "Too young to really be in love."
Now, she's wearing this bright orange robe over the
her gown.
It was a really bright orange.
It was almost
neon orange, right?
Yeah. It wasn't that attractive.
No.
I wasn't that crazy about it.
Yeah.
But she had this beautiful, like, blue and gold fascinator in her hair.
But it was way in the back.
It was a bow. It was a bow in the back.
Yeah.
And, you know, Arthur turns to her and goes, "Maude, all those people that said you're too young to be in love, they're all dead."
Yes. And Maude's like, "Oh, Arthur, nothing you say will spoil this day." And she tells Carol to fix the bow in the hair.
I feel like I'm 45.
No, she feels like
she's 18
in a 45-year-old body. To which Vivian replies,
Vivian says, "But Maude, you're 48.
You're 48.
Oh, 48, 45.
What's
the difference when you're 18?
Yes.
What difference does a couple of years make? Oh, the vanity knows no bounds.
So then Maude asks Arthur to guard the ring.
The wedding ring.
Guard the ring.
With his life.
Yes.
And, you know, Arthur shows the ring to Vivian and says, "Oh, it looks like the one that I bought for Agnes."
Wait. Before then, just a quick snippet. Philip comes down.
Oh, yes. Philip comes
like
downstairs.
2 seconds of Philip.
2 seconds of... one line of dialogue for Philip.
Yes, where Maude tells him, "Oh, Philip,
you look lovely.
Beautiful.
You look beautiful." And what does Philip say to Maude?
He says, "You look funny."
And one of the things that I love doing, and this is something that I know I picked up from her, when someone says something really stupid to me or something that, like, offends me, I will put my hand over their face. If with consent. Like, usually if it's someone that I really, really, really know I can do that with.
Yes.
That's when I will do that.
So that's when Arthur points out to Vivian that it looks like the ring that she's wearing. And Vivian's like,
well, I'm sure hers isn't a hand-me-down. Now, the first time I heard that line, I wasn't like, oh, that's not a big deal. It is what it is. Now,
Oh.
that line just makes me feel all kinds of uncomfortable.
Yes, because she was wearing, a dead woman's ring.
A dead woman's, like, just...
No, thank you.
This is not... no.
Bad juju.
Very bad juju.
Bad juju.
Agnes is essentially becoming the Frumasara of Maude.
Yes. So then we hear the doorbell. Mrs. Naugatuck goes to the door, and it's the minister.
Good morning!
Yeah.
What are you here for?
What are you here for? Hello. There's a wedding.
There's a wedding.
And here's the minister at the door.
And
what do you think?
And Paul Benedict, bless his heart, points to his Nehru collar.
Yes.
And points to the ring finger, saying, I'm here for thee.
Yeah.
And, Mrs. Naugatuck says, the minister!
Yes. And when he comes in...
Mrs. Naugatuck introduces, this is Vivian Hammond,
right.
and this is, before that...
Yes.
The minister goes over to Arthur and says, Arthur Harmon, you son of a gun!
Yes. And that's when Arthur tells him, he buried my wife.
Yes.
And he's saying how, the eulogy was a humdinger.
Yes.
And he laid her out so well.
She really laid out well.
He tells Vivian, she never looked better, Viv.
She looked beautiful.
Yes.
And Vivian turns to him and goes, beautiful.
Yeah.
But I think at that point we learned the dialogue.
Yes, because Arthur's saying how, he really captured her essence.
Yes. And he asked the minister, what were those words that you said?
Yes.
And he goes, soft of heart, sweet of spirit, strong of will, and selfless of soul.
Yeah, so beautiful. And then Vivian's just beautiful.
There are times, I forget what episode it was. Did we go? I think we did go over it. It was the episode where Vivian and Arthur are having their argument because all Arthur kept on doing was talking about Agnes.
Yeah.
And, it really... I thought that it was just going to be a one and done thing. But I guess because it got so many laughs the first time, they're just going to bleed it dry. And just my heart breaks for Vivian for that one reason only.
Yes. So now Arthur is amazed that the minister, remembered those things that he said about Agnes.
Yep.
Which we'll come back to.
Which we'll come back to in a second.
Yes.
But the minister says, well, it's my business, with a chuckle.
Yes.
And I think before we go to...
And Arthur's saying, well, if you run this wedding half as well as you did that funeral, it'll be
heck of a kick out of it. They'll get a heck of a kick out of it.
Yes.
So now after that, we cut to
we're upstairs
Maude and Walter in the bedroom.
And Maude's looking in the mirror.
And she turns to Walter and says,
don't ask for much.
Walter, I don't ask for much, but you cannot get married in your Arnold Palmer sweater. And of course, Arnold Palmer is a very famous golfer.
Because, Walter's, main focus of the day is playing golf.
Yep.
The wedding is just, neither here nor there, really. So he agrees. He takes off the sweater and he puts on a jacket. And Maude's, it's like,
Walter says, does that make you happy? And Maude says, very happy.
Yeah.
And a necktie would make me even happier.
Yes.
And Walter shoots back, come on, Maude, we're getting married. We're not going out to dinner.
Mm-hmm. And Maude has a surprise for Walter.
Yes. So she says, Walter, give me your hand and close your eyes. Mm-hmm. And Maude puts a ring in a wedding band into his hand.
And she tells him it's going to be a
double ring ceremony.
Yes.
And, Walter then shoots back saying, everybody already knows I'm married.
Yes.
I have that haunted, beaten husband look.
Right. And she says...
Maude fires back saying, don't you dare pull that haunted, beaten look on me. I've seen your baby pictures.
Seen the baby pictures.
That killed me. I enjoyed that.
So, and Walter's like...
You don't trust
me.
You want me to be property of Maude Findlay.
Property of Maude Findlay, yes.
And, they get into an argument, and at that point, Walter's like, the hell with the ceremony.
Forget the whole thing.
And then I think at that point, they bring up how Maude is like, but what about what the psychic predicted? And Walter says, the hell with him, too. Mm-hmm. So, then Maude goes over, like, well, I got the phone call from the mysterious stranger, the good news about the Bamberger house, the severe emotional trauma for Joanna and Cliff. And you know, Walter's like, trauma? They're happy as clams.
Yeah. Joanna found herself a 22-year-old ski instructor.
And Maude says, oh, well, that's happy.
That's happy. And now Maude, she starts, she's sort of pleading with Walter now.
Yep.
Because, all the guests are downstairs.
All the guests are
waiting
downstairs.
for them to get married. And she's like, please, Walter.
And Walter gives her an ultimatum.
Yeah,
one ring or no wedding ceremony.
You've got 60 seconds to decide.
60 seconds to decide. So at that point, we cut down
Back
to Vivian crying. And, the minister's like, oh, wow, they must have a great spiritual connection to do their wedding vows all over again.
Yes.
Renew their wedding vows.
And that's, we hear them fighting upstairs.
Yep.
And the minister's like, who's that?
And Arthur says, oh, that's the loving, charming couple.
The loving couple, yes.
So I think at that point, Carol's like, Mrs. Naugatuck, why don't you start the music?
Yes.
And Mrs. Naugatuck says...
Yes. That maybe it'll make her come down just
by force of habit.
Yeah, it's the wedding march.
So the music starts, and as the music starts, Maude comes downstairs saying, you're rotten, Walter, you're rotten. You're absolutely rotten, Walter. And she gets to the top of the stairs, and she just shifts.
Yes.
Immediately from angry to... Oh,
all smiles.
Everyone's here for me.
Yes. And Arthur, he says, say cheese. I think he takes a picture. Yes. They yell at Mrs. The minister is now motioning.
To cut the music.
Yes.
Just the facial expressions. What a great, phenomenal character actor he was.
And he starts, he begins the ceremony, saying, we've all gathered here today, and he starts going into the
soft of heart, sweet of spirit, strong of will, and selfless of soul.
Yes.
And the camera shoots over to Arthur and Vivian. Yeah. Arthur is looking very confused, and Vivian just looks at him so smugly.
Yeah.
Looks at him so smugly.
Because obviously the minister, he used that line at every gig.
Yes.
As performers who do, a lot of gigs, we can also use a lot of the same things all the time. We do a lot of
that too.
Especially with our Golden Girl stuff.
Oh God,
we've repeated ourselves
so many times.
How many times have I've done that? You know why I call you Pussycat, or the picture.
How many times I've done that damnable tweeting bird monologue.
The bird monologue.
Bird monologue.
Oh, please. Not the bird again.
Not the bird again. But they kill. The lines kill. When you get the laugh, it just makes everything better.
Yes.
So, moving right along, Arthur's, the minister says, may I have the ring?
Right.
And Arthur just quickly goes to Maude's side. I think Vivian was holding on to him, and he just moved so quickly that she tripped because her foot is still in the cast.
Still in the cast.
So that was an interesting bit of physical comedy. I appreciated that. So I think Maude turns to Arthur and says, oh, we've decided no rings.
Well, she tells the minister, she's saying, we've decided not to wear rings. And the minister's like, well, you can't not do the rings.
It's part of the ceremony. It binds. And Maude says, so does rice. So Arthur's like, Maude!
No, Walter is like.
Walter. I'm sorry.
Walter is saying you're supposed to wear the ring.
You're the woman.
Right, you're the woman. You've got to wear them.
Yeah. And at that point, I think Arthur says, "I've always thought of her as a woman." That was so awful.
That's so funny.
God, there are so many times I really want to like Arthur and just. I know. I really want to like him. I really want to slap him.
So now this begins everybody arguing. Maude is saying, the ring it symbolizes ownership.
Yep. And then Carol says it's her possession.
Yes.
Like you're his possession. And I think Vivian says she's your slave.
Yes.
And everybody just starts arguing with each other. And then the minister screams over everybody, Hey! It's a wedding!
Come on. We've got a wedding here.
Can we goose this along? I'm supposed to be at the cemetery.
Yes, I'm expected at the cemetery.
And Mrs. Naugatuck says, aren't we all?
Oh, hell. So Walter says something about this liberated jazz.
Yes, he says, Maude, please stop with the liberated female jazz.
Yes. And she says, give me one sensible reason.
Yeah?
Yes.
And he says, well, what do the guys say?
What are the guys going to say?
Let us pray.
Let us pray.
The minister answers the question.
Yes.
And
Walter's saying you're an attractive woman.
They're going to see that you don't wear a ring.
Yeah.
Finley's wife is on the prowl. She's looking for a little... What is that?
Looking for action. She's on the prowl.
Like, can someone explain to me what... Because every time Walter mentions Whoopi or something to that effect, he is always flapping his arm.
That's just his...
I don't get that.
Yeah, I don't know. But he's worried because he's of being the laughing stock of Tuckahoe.
The laughing stock.
The laughing stock of Tuckahoe.
I'm going to be the laughing stock of Tuckahoe.
Yes.
I insist you wear this ring. I insist. And he is having...
Emotional trauma.
An emotional trauma.
And that's when Maude she points it out. The psychic was right. You're the one having the trauma.
And he says, Me! And he just screams, I'm not having a trauma.
He says, trauma?
I'm not having a trauma.
Yes. And then he stops, dead in his tracks.
Holds up his fist. Raises his ring finger.
Yes.
Goes over to Maude.
And the minister.
And
has Maude
put the ring on his finger. Have you ever heard of a man not wearing a wedding band?
No. I was like,
I don't...
Well, actually, way back. I mean, not
50,
way
we're
back.
talking like
We're
50s
talking
and 60s?
50s and 60s. Yeah, that was more of a thing where, like, the woman wore a wedding ring and the man didn't.
Well, that makes sense.
Because it was more about, the woman was subservient, basically the property of the man.
Yeah.
But, as things became more modern, it was all, then it, was always, nowadays it's always like, you exchange rings.
Yep.
Like my husband and I, we both.
Yeah, you both have a ring on. My cousin and her wife have a double ring. My father and mother do too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I think then
of all the outfits that B. Arthur has worn for weddings, this one has to be my favorite.
Well, certainly better than the wedding dress in the last
toilet paper gown,
Golden Girls.
The toilet paper gown from
Lord.
the series finale
That
of the Golden
was
Girls.
Hideous.
That was not a
hideous. What were they thinking?
They
with that
weren't.
Dress?
They weren't. I don't know. Maybe B tried it on, and she was like, "I guess we'll go with this. It's fine. It's the last. It's the last
weird.
Episode. It's such an awful gown."
I mean, probably at that point she was just over it.
Over it.
She didn't even want to do that season.
Nope. She didn't want to do that.
She didn't want to do that season. Now she's
she
finally at the last episode.
But I mean, the wedding outfit that she wore for the season 6 season finale, where it was that like ivory duster.
That's when she was supposed to marry.
She was supposed to marry Stanley,
but
it didn't go through with it.
Yeah,
that outfit was very attractive.
Yes.
But this outfit that Maude wore, I especially loved it because it was this sort of floor length, gold gown with the gold duster.
Yeah, no, it was very nice,
very attractive.
Yes.
So.
I think the minister then...
the minister then says,
did he say, like, where are we?
Where are we?
Where are we? And who says this? Somebody says soft of heart, right? Or...
Someone says that.
Someone said it.
Yes, he says, yes, soft of heart. And then, like, that's when the audience applauds, and then we come to the epilogue.
Yes.
And we open with the minister saying, I now pronounce you man and wife. Thank God. And he goes over to the bar and takes a shot.
Grabs a big stiff drink
and gulps it
down. And Walter is saying, oh, I love you, Maude.
And, Maude's like, I love you, Walter.
Walter's like,
and, they hug, and Walter then looks at his watch and says, Arthur, it's almost 11:30. Let's go.
Let's go.
And he takes off the ring.
He takes off the ring and hands it to Maude. He says, sweetheart, hold on to my ring.
I can't swing a golf club with that on my finger.
Yes.
So Maude takes the ring, goes over to the minister and says, Minister, do you do burials and sand traps? And that's how the episode ended.
And that's how the episode ended.
Woo!
I know.
It was an episode.
It was.
Like it was one of those. It was one of those episodes like really early on in season 2 where it was just so all over the place. And there was
a lot
so
going on.
much going on.
There was a lot going on.
There was a lot going on.
I mean, you know, you don't expect when it opens that, you know, you're going to get a whole wedding in the episode.
In one episode, you would think that would be a 2-parter.
Yes.
That's not.
No. I mean, that was like they threw that together.
But I mean, all things considered, it was a good episode.
It was
a
a
very
solid episode.
Solid episode. There was a lot of laughs, a lot of well-written
laughs.
Jokes, a lot of gags most of the gags fell. Most of the gags fell.
No, they landed.
They landed. There you go. They
Get
landed.
your stick terms right.
Leave me alone, old woman. Leave me alone, old woman. I cannot stand it. But yes, it was definitely a good episode.
The jokes landed.
The jokes fell.
Yes. I don't think there were any stinkers.
No.
In there.
I don't think so either.
So
there was nothing inherently problematic with it. I feel like the only time Maude really failed and the only time the jokes really didn't hit were when they made inherently racist remarks.
Oh yeah.
Like, or when when
we view them now.
Oh,
they don't
100%. They don't land at all.
For a 1975 audience, they
probably landed.
Yeah. You know.
They probably landed. But I mean, look. Take All in the Family, for instance. Mm-hmm. All in the Family, the Jeffersons, you know, these sitcoms that have been around for decades and have been in syndication for so long.
Yes.
You know, there are just some episodes that you inherently know and love. Mm-hmm. Maude never got that kind of treatment.
No.
Because honestly, you know, if you put Maude next to All in the Family or Maude next to the Jeffersons, there's episodes that just sort of overshadow what Maude was trying to do. Mm-hmm. And I honestly feel like it was because Maude was a female-led show. But not only was it female-led, because Mary Tyler Moore is an incredibly, wildly successful sitcom from the 70s.
Right.
Whereas Maude was much more aggressive.
Oh, yeah.
Maude was a far more aggressive show in terms of politics, in terms of sexuality, in terms of promoting feminine and female awareness, and female rights. And I feel like that's sort of where, I don't want to say that's where Maude struggled. I feel like that's why we're having conversations like this. That's why Maude is becoming more in vogue. So it's interesting to see the shift.
Yes.
The shift and to see how things have progressed and regressed.
Yeah. Oh boy. I know. Like when we first started this podcast, I never imagined in a million years like what is happening in the real world.
Roe being overturned.
Would
and
happen.
You know, it's funny. There was something that I read recently. And it was an article where it was like, why aren't conservatives, you know, cheering that they won for Roe v. Wade? Like, why aren't they like so happy about this? And there was one person who said, well, you can't win and still be a victim. And when I read that, I'm like, that tracks. Because while they are winning, they still want to be perceived as the victim.
Right.
And, you know, they're not going to stop until they've overturned just about every progressive law that has been written into... Yeah. That has been written.
Right.
Any progressive law, we'll say.
Right.
And, you know, it's really disheartening to say that. It's really disheartening to say that because, you know, there have been so many leaps and bounds made that to regress at this point is a colossal task. Almost Olympian. Yeah. Almost Olympian. I don't know. It's a very difficult conversation to be had. Yeah. But I feel like, you know, in terms of politics, I feel like religion really has no place. And I feel like that's one of the big problems that we're facing right now.
I know.
Is we're dealing with a very religious heavy or religion heavy.
The amazing thing is these conservatives who feel that the founding fathers wanted Christianity incorporated into the founding of the United States, and that is the last thing they wanted. It's right in there. Separation of church and state. That's what this nation is founded on.
Uh-huh.
People say, "Oh, this is a Christian nation." No, it is not.
It isn't.
It is distinctly not.
It is.
And the founding fathers, if they heard that, saw that, would be outraged.
There was something that I read where it was like, I don't think these white men, these white slave-owning men, who have been dead for 2 centuries, would have any bearing on what's going on in the world today.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
So it's just, I know. It's very difficult to have these sort of conversations, but that's why we have podcasts like this, where we discuss a show that, honestly, in my opinion, didn't get its due.
No.
That has had a lot of these really hard-hitting conversations, and starting these hard-hitting conversations.
Mm-hmm.
Very true. So, we thank you for listening.
We do.
To God'll Get You For That, Walter. If you would like to hear more from this program, you can on Facebook and YouTube at God'll Get You For That, Walter, and Instagram at Findley's Friendly Appliances. Where can they find you?
They can find me everywhere. That's Toni Homeperm. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. All those lovely places.
All those appy wappies.
Yes.
And you can find me at That Tomcat on all forms of social media, and that, of course, is Cat with 2 T's. I gotta come up with something snappy for that.
Yeah.
Jazz it up. Gotta jazz it up.
Jazz hands.
Gotta jazzy it up. We thank you so much for listening, and you will hear us again on another episode of God'll Get You For That, Walter. Bye, guys.
Good night.